Let's now have a look at Unit 8, Lesson 3. We're starting a new unit, so we're going to look at the big picture, the UBD, the simplified scale, and the scope and sequence. Let's start with our big picture. Notice we're still in the second 9 weeks, and we have Unit 8, Algebraic Expressions, at the end of the second 9 weeks. Notice highlighted in pink here, you have the first lesson covers the last 6 days of the second 9 weeks. Then we move into the third 9 weeks and we notice that Unit 8, Algebraic Expressions, continues in the first week of the third 9 weeks. Notice Lesson 2, which is what we'll go over in training today, is Understanding Equivalent Expressions in Distributive Property, and that covers 4 days of instruction. So let's look now at our UBD. Again, we have our goals, our meaning, and our acquisition. Our goals are the course of study standards from the new Alabama course of study. Then we have our meaning, our understandings, what the students will understand, and essential questions you can ask throughout this unit. Then we look at our acquisition. Knowledge is what the students will know when they complete this unit of study. And the skills are what they will be able to do once they've completed the unit. Let's look now at our cover page or our simplified scale. Notice this is Math 6, Unit 8, Algebraic Expressions. 10 days of instruction plus assessment time gives you a total of 12 days. Below that, you have your vocabulary. Those are the terms that they will be introduced to throughout this unit. And then we have our concept checklist. Notice Lesson 1 covers days 1 through 6, and they're the kid-friendly I can statements. And then we have Lesson 2, which is covering days 7 through 10. And here are your kid-friendly I can statements for Lesson 2. Make sure you're having your students self-evaluate. They're either a 4, which is your exemplary students. Those are the ones that know the content so well they can turn around and teach it to someone else. Then you have your 3s or your proficient students. Those are the ones that can do it on their own. Your 2s are the ones that still need a little bit of help, need some assistance, some hints. And then you have your 1s. Those are the ones that just aren't there yet. So looking at Lesson 2, here are our I can statements for this lesson. I can apply the properties of operations to generate equivalent expressions. I can identify when 2 expressions are equivalent. And I can find equivalent expressions using the distributive property and combining like terms. Now, I want to draw your attention right here to this first I can statement. I can apply the properties of operations. That's something that's a little bit different than what we've had in the past. We've got to make sure that you're covering all properties in this lesson, not just the distributive property. And there is a couple of activities to help you do that. Okay, now let's look at our scope and sequence. We're going to look first at day 1. Here we find our unit note. Again, at the top, 10 days of instruction plus assessment time, 12 days. Take just a moment, pause your video, and read through your unit notes so you have a better understanding of what we will be discussing in this unit. Now we're going to look at Day 2 or Lesson 2, Understanding Equivalent Expressions using the Distributive Property, and notice that covers 4 days. Here you have your Alabama course of study that will be covered in this lesson, and then your teacher note. Pause for just a moment and read through this teacher note. Now you have your prerequisites, materials needed, additional support and resources, and then we come down to our presentation strategy. I'll give you a moment to look through, pause the video, and read through your presentation strategies. Okay, we're going to focus in training specifically on day 3. Students will practice finding equivalent expressions using factoring expressions and the distributive property. We'll do that through playing a game of how have you met my match. Notice on day 4 there is something very similar to this. Day 4's have I met your match game is very similar to day 3. The difference is day 4 covers all operations, not just the distributive property. So you have 2 options there on which game you would like to use.